Alrighty, okay. So I'm adjusting my own volume for this video because I feel like my volume in previous videos is a little loud, but otherwise. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of well, not really gaming, but Nathan React, where today we are reacting to another ShoeOnHead video, much to my potential chagrin. Who am I kidding? I actually kind of like the other video. I mean, I like ShoeOnHead's content. I haven't had any problems with Shoe or her content, or really her as a person. I don't know what she's like on social media, but that's always tends to vary. A lot of things tend to vary when you look at someone's posts on a social media. I don't know what it is, but people treat Twitter and places like that, like social media, like TikTok, like it's their own interpersonal thought bubble. It's like nobody fucking cares. I don't care what you ate this morning at 10:45 p.m. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's not PM, it's AM. But anyways, you get the point. Nobody actually cares about the stupid shit that people post, right? The most people care when it comes to social media is what are you doing, how your day's been, and keeping up with the family. See what everybody else is doing, right? Just seeing what people are up to, and no one's like destitute or is, out of a job or some shit, right? Or, their fucking cousin died or something. You get the point. Social media should be good for just staying connected with relatives and people that you frankly cannot be bothered to do so by taking the time out of your day to just hit them up and be like, "Hey, Sharon, how's it going? What are you up to these days?" Stuff like that. Social media has basically become like the easy, convenient way of being able to check on the status of another human being, which is kind of nice, except for the fact that people also use social media, you know, like it's some type of job, and that they have to make sure everybody knows what they're doing at all times throughout their given course of a day, as well as how exactly they think and how exactly they feel, which is kind of stupid. At any rate, today we are reacting to a ShoeOnHead video, the Male Loneliness Epidemic. Now, I would normally, would probably just maybe wait until maybe she makes a new video, because I've kind of tried reacting to another video, as you can probably tell, just, right behind my ass. I tried reacting to the TikTok try to wife thing. Before I made the decision to make a RoboCop playthrough, I was kind of struggling on, should I react to something else? Should I record something else? And originally I was gonna try and do like a few videos where I would react to the Superman trailer or react to another ShoeOnHead video. But then I realized when I was watching the trad wife thing, I was like, I wasn't really adding a lot of commentary, and it wasn't interesting, at least to me. And so I thought I need to do better. So I thought, what's an interesting topic? Oh, I just reacted to the Superman trailer. But then I kind of got a little bit flummoxed by the fact that, I tried to react to the Superman trailer and try to talk about what makes Superman so important, why he's such a great character, why he's such an iconic character, even for someone who, only has ever written for a hobby. The interesting thing about Superman, at least for me, is not the fact that you need to write a story that meets the challenge, that really like challenges the character like himself, but rather it's kind of like an inverse. You have to think of a story and setting that actually challenges Superman, and not the other way around. You don't just create a story that challenges the character. You have to create a story that's worthy of being able to challenge the character. See, that's the fundamental difference between Superman and other characters. And I know that sounds kind of like a bit of a weird thing to kind of, you know, really sparse through, but the easiest and simplest solution is a complicated one, and all you really and it's something that you can't exactly grossly simplify without getting into detail, but that's neither here or there. But yeah, I tried to do a trailer react. I tried to do a couple of reactions for the ShoeOnHead video, and that was not really all that happy about it because I just wasn't really adding anything interesting or new to the topic of conversation. And plus, the TikTok tradwife thing, though I never have actually sat down and watched it myself, because I wanted to choose something that was a little different from what I've seen. I didn't really care all that much, which is probably why I never watched it before, because I genuinely didn't really care about the topic. I watched it all the way through, but I didn't care about the topic nearly as much. Oh man, women are having a hard time, trying to be traditional and not get a bunch of hate by other people, as well as some of the trad wife larpers that exist out there. I mean, yeah, that's shit, but so is everything else. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. That's not to that's not to knock on on their particular struggle. It's just that I don't have any words or things to say about the topic that Shu just couldn't say herself. So yeah. So today we're just gonna do a video about a topic that I'm at least familiar with and hope for the best. The male loneliness epidemic.
I regret to inform you the men are...
Oh, wait. Before we do that, there's a reason why I also was on this screen beforehand. I had not realized this, but I'm not the only one who came up with this idea. Clown country. I tell my friends all the time we live in clown world. I go down here, what do I see? Hello World playlist. Clown Country episode 6. It's so fucking good. We share a similar brain cell, me and Shu, and I don't know what it is. And I have never even knew she did other content outside of just commentary shit. I don't even know what this Hell World stuff is. I'm assuming it's got to be another commentary thing about something else. I have no idea, but we'll just move on from that. Anyways, the male loneliness epidemic by Shu. Ad blockers are not allowed on YouTube. Allow YouTube ads. Oh, I have an ad blocker on. Okay, that makes sense. Where is it? Right here. Turn that off. Oh, I see now.
I regret to inform you...
That would explain why most of my videos must have been pretty smooth up until this point, because I'm like, I haven't gotten any ads recently. I wonder what's going on there. Oh, it's because you're using Opera, and Opera has ad blockers installed on it, so that explains why a lot of the videos did not get a whole lot of ads. That makes sense. That tracks. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. I turned it off, though. So whether or not we get ads or not is going to be entirely dependent on, well, going to be entirely dependent on Shu and as well as YouTube. Because I don't know how YouTube does ads, because I have YouTube Premium on my main account for which I watch YouTube content. So I don't really get the problem of ads as much as I used to. So moving on. Of course, we're gonna watch this on 1080, because why wouldn't we? All right, let's start this in 3, 2, 1, 0 without further delay.
The men are not okay. That's right, folks. The men are not okay. The men have no friends, no girlfriend, no college education, no money, are breaking their legs and inserting metal rods into their bones to be a few inches taller, and listening to AI Batman help them overcome their pornography addictions.
You deserve real love.
Turns out the society that was built by...
That all seems rather comical even to some other dudes, but these are things you can actually find, and it's kind of funny that these exist. But even as a guy, but it's like it's true. No, it's rough out there. Like I'm just saying it, like as a guy, it is fucking rough out there. Like I have friends who have girlfriends who literally, like, I was told a story once about from a female friend of mine who was just like, I went out with my boyfriend and I was going through checking like my boyfriend's sizes, and I was gonna buy him a shirt and everything, and he started crying because he's like, nobody's ever done that for me before. And it's like, that's fucking sad. That's actually sad. He started crying because nobody ever actually took the time out of their day to really find him a decent shirt to wear. Not even his own mother, apparently. It's like, damn. Like, God, all I ask for is just to be loved, for fuck's sake. You know, I'm out here just, you know, I'm looking for happiness, I'm looking for fun, I'm looking for love. That's all I'm looking for. But some people out here are just like, they're just like, man, I'd be lucky if I actually got a reciprocation in feeling or emotion. And it's like, God, that's fucking off. How do you people live? I feel bad. It's like, I don't know how to help you, but at the same time, it's like, can I help you? Is that a thing that I can do? Like, there's only so much that the bros can do to help another bro until, you know, they eventually just hunker down and they just find themselves somebody who actually is going to fulfill the role and needs of that particular guy. You know, it's like, God, it's sad. It's just so sad. Anyways, moving on.
And allegedly 4 men has indeed let them down. Now you might be thinking, oh look, another boo-hoo poor men video by ShoeOnHead. Yes. And if you have a problem with that, tune into literally anything else. Men are in a crisis, and it seems nobody really cares. And the people who do care just seem like the people who want to sell them shit. Not me. I'm different. So before we get into this, let's quickly get into today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Holzgern. Holzgern is a young Austrian company that designs unique crafted watches and jewelry made from all natural materials. Their high-quality timepieces come in various designs for both men and women, making them the perfect gift for any occasion. They're a great blend of function and fashion, and overall I just think they look very classy, especially the men's watch collection. I was pretty impressed with the silver casing and blue marble dial of the Naturalist watch, which made for a great gift for my boyfriend. He especially loved the casual yet stylish appearance, making it an ideal choice to wear both at work and at home. I'm also really happy with the
I mean, these look like some pretty snazzy watches, I will admit. Like, I don't wear watches. You'll probably rarely find anyone nowadays wearing a fucking wristwatch or a watch or have a watch of any kind. But it's like, yeah, you know, if we didn't have phones and watches were still a thing, you know, this would be a pretty awesome brand to want to consider. They do have some pretty interesting looking watches, so that's my 2 cents on that.
watch I picked out. It's made from black and white marble and features a nice black leather bracelet that just feels so comfy. They also create elegantly crafted earrings, very unique handbags, sunglasses, and necklaces, like this rose marble elevation necklace. It makes a really memorable and unique gift for a loved one. All of their products have a 24-month warranty, and ordering online is super easy with free shipping to the US and most EU countries within 2 to 5 days. So if you want to get yourself a good quality watch and support the channel, I highly recommend checking out their store and clicking the link in the description below. Use my special code SHOE15 at checkout that will give you 15% off for all products store-wide. So go to the link down below and choose your own unique piece of nature. Thank you, Holzgern, for sponsoring this video, and thank you, the viewer, as always, for not skipping the ad.
Why are men and boys struggling? And what should we do about it?
A few new studies have come out that have shown that young men are more lonely and single than ever before. But it's not just men. The women and children, too. It's predicted 45% of women will be single and childless by 2030. But according to the media, this is a good thing. The she-economy is booming, as they say. And meanwhile, men being single is treated like this.
New study explains why some single men are having a hard time finding a new partner.
Some of the music that they listen to speaks very derogatory.
Right.
Yeah, men, stop.
Yep, they'll use any other excuse under the sun. They won't just say it's derogatory music. They'll say it's violent video games, satirical shows, among other things. They'll say it's anything else under the sun, but they will never actually state the real reasons why men are being fucked over. And the main reason, of course, is that society just fucking hates them. I mean, that's just the long and short of it. And you can't even say it's not true because you could just go on social media and you just gotta type in Men's Day versus Women's Day, and you'll find a lot of interesting results. It's very easy. It's very easy to see the absolute state and discontent for the male demographic of our society. But anyways, let's move on.
Stop listening to that derogatory music. Then maybe you won't be single. I don't know, I think men and women being single and lonely kind of shows there might be something wrong with society. Perhaps we should address this, not just wave it off as empowering or pathetic. According to several different articles, I love how that's my source, I read about it on the internet, research shows that people from individualist countries show a greater sense of loneliness. This is linked to socioeconomic development, increased education, a shift towards white-collar jobs, and urbanization. Japan also has an issue with loneliness. In fact, they have a whole movement of people they call the hikikomori. Did I say that right?
A little. Yeah, you said it mostly right. It's actually hikikomori, but you got it. I mean, if I hadn't watched an anime based on around this topic, I probably would be saying it incorrectly myself. But then again, I also watched it dubbed, so I could still be saying it incorrect. So I don't know. That's a very, it's a very interesting question. Like, are we saying it correctly? Do the Japanese pronunciate it a little bit differently? Who knows? We'll never know until we hear a Japanese person say it.
I don't care. Basically, postmodern hermits. Mostly
Same.
who completely withdraw from society, secluding themselves in their rooms for months and years at a time. In 2010, there was an estimated 700,000 hikikomori in Japan. And today, it's estimated to be about 1.55 million. And because of things like this, people aren't having babies, so Japan's population has been in a sharp decline since 2011. It's gotten so bad that Japan even produces videos of live-action women staring into the camera to help the hikikomori learn to cope with eye contact and reintegrate them back into society. So
I don't know about how effective that's going to be, but, it's even worse than that. The government actually pays you to get married and have sex now in Japan. Like, they legitimately, pay people to actually marry at this point because it's that bad. At least that's the last from what I've heard of it. And that's pretty bad. And I've also heard other funny stories, like how, a girl who I don't remember, I think it was like some sort of fashion model or something. She had a choice to date several men on some type of weird sort of dating show thing. And she had a choice between the celebrity actors, also other fashion models, among other things, right? And she really liked this one guy, and she ended up choosing none of them. And even the guy that she was actually pretty chill with, the guy that she really liked, she ended up not going for him either. And the reason she gave was because his fingernails were too crooked or something of the sort, or that they were just too dirty or something. It's like it's the most pettiest of detail. But that is a thing that happened. And I don't know how true that story is. It's been so long since I've heard that story, and I don't even remember where I heard it from, where I heard that story from at this point. That, I'm sure by memory of it, if it's something that happened and it does exist, if it wasn't just something that I've heard from maybe some random YouTube channel somewhere that probably didn't have the full facts, I have no idea. That's pretty fucking stupid. And it's also pretty fucked at the same time. It's like, man, you really do want to see what the future of this nation looks like? You just have to look at fucking Japan. It's pretty easy to tell.
basically, if you want to know America's future, look no further than Japan.
Okay, I know that's where that line came from. Was this video, but I didn't think it was going to be immediately after I said it.
A lot of people, including myself, blame this partially.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I did watch this video. I'm watching a video I've already watched, and I've also watched other people watch it. So there you go. That's probably why I know these things, and I probably have a pretty good idea of how. If I'm gonna be pretty on point about some of the things that she says in this video, just naturally, without really thinking about it too hard, that's gonna be the reason why. It's because I have seen this video at least a few handful of times. So there you go.
On the rise of social media to help the hikikomori learn to cope with eye contact and reintegrate them back into society. So basically, if you want to know America's future, look no further than Japan. A lot of people, including myself, blame this partially on the rise of social media and technology. RIP to the king. Although technology makes things easier, it can also make us more atomized. Why go to the mall when I can just tap, 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 buy a new microphone and have it shipped to me in a day? Why hang out with friends when I can get all my social interaction I need from Twitter and streamers? Why go on dates and bother meeting women when I can just tap, 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 Google big boob and get 2 million results? Or see my high school crush's holes on OnlyFans for only $5. Instant dopamine, instant satisfaction, and hey, who even needs a real woman when you could just have an AI girlfriend?
I don't know if she's gonna ever bother mentioning it in this video, but it goes without saying that all of you women out there with OF accounts, if you have children, you're going to have to live with the fact that you will be a constant embarrassment to your own children. A constant embarrassment to your own children. Because everyone's going to be making fun of them for having a mother who sells their body on OnlyFans. It's a thing that happens, and it does track. Everybody's said it enough as it is, but it's true. It's not going to change the fact that it's actually true. The fact that people make jokes about it and the fact that it's a thing that, that exists is, again, that's just how it is. It's just the reality of things. And children are fucking brutal. Like, if you think that trying to save your children from the embarrassment is going to help you, it's not. Like, you could have them homeschooled if you want, but they'll still end up growing up, and then it's still going to be an awkward conversation to have with someone about, especially, like, even if it's just, like, as someone as important as, like, your potential dating or marriage prospects. And they're gonna be like, "So what's your mother like? What did she do? Oh, she had to work. I never had a father." So it's like, okay, well, what does she do for work? And it's like, uh, content creation. What's kind of content creation? She did a lot of moderation. She made content for herself. Like, how do you explain that to somebody in a way that isn't immediately demoralizing? Just like, oh, your mother was an OnlyFans. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. It's that's got to be a very interesting conversation. This to be sure, it's got to be certainly a very interesting conversation. I don't know how women view dudes who grew up with mothers that have OF accounts, but I imagine your view of them is probably a little separate from what their mother does, but I'm sure there's probably, like, I'm sure there's got to be something, right, in the back of the mind of, like, women who are constantly evaluating the achievements and successes, and as well as the stability of most guys, about, like, I wonder if having a mother who has had an OF account ever negatively affected him, or it could possibly be like a result of maybe having maybe he's just not right in the head, or he's just not right in general, right? It's there's got to be some type of a small stigma to it, right? You got to assume, right? There's got to be something there, because knowing how women are in the dating scene, I can't imagine that they look at this and they immediately think to themselves, that's kind of not great for not just for the guy, but also the guy himself. I don't know. I'm just not sure how to quantify this problem specifically. It's a very, because again, I've never seen this conversation. I don't know much else about the dating scene other than how fucked the dating scene is. So, and I've seen horror stories online, believe you me. And I'm sure if there's a way to stigmatize something, they will. That somebody absolutely will find a way to stigmatize it, even if it's just something like entirely separate from the person themselves. You know, like, I have no doubts in my mind. Children do it all the time. You know, like, they'll find something or some avenue to get under your skin, and it's no different from, you know, every normal everyday people. You know, they find some way to try to quell and shut you up, if not just downright get under your skin in order to piss you off and say some stupid shit. It's like, you know, bring you down to their level. Anyways, I digress. It's a fucked up situation we live in our modern era.
Satisfaction. And hey, who even needs a real woman when you could just have an AI girlfriend? We're f***ed. We're so f***ed. Dating apps really are the great Satan, and I'm convinced they've completely broken men's brains. Women on dating apps are picky. Women in general are picky, and I mean, naturally we are pickier. You know, we're the ones who carry the babies. At least for now. But on dating apps, you have to admit, it's a little insane. It's safe to say that the commodification of love and the window shopping of dating apps probably has to do a lot with the rise of lonely single men. Men are not just lonely when it comes to dating, they're lonely when it comes to friendship too. According to Vox, Americans are currently in a friendship recession, and men are being hit the hardest. The percentage of men who reported having at least 6 close friendships fell in half since the 90s. 1 in 5 men say they have no close friendships.
This does track. I can also attest to this because as someone who was stuck in his house for 5 years, I basically closed off all of my relationships with my friend group from high school, and I literally had no other friends outside of that. And I never bothered to go online and meet friends over the internet because I'm like, that's a lot of hard work, and most of them are just douchebags anyways. And where am I gonna find them? Playing fucking games, playing multiplayer games, like what, like fucking Halo? Hell, fucking no. I'm not gonna. No, I'm not gonna do that to my fucking self. Hell no. It's just it's kind of screwed up how things are, and the only reason why I kind of like, and mind you, the only reason why I even like stopped, staying in contact with my friend group from high school was because I just wasn't in the right place. I'm not kidding when I said I was not in the best mindset when I was stuck in my house for 5 years. I was not joking about that. I I felt like I was doing them a favor by not talking to them because I got so sensitive about my life and about certain things that I felt like because they're just, they're naturally just kind of assholes. They like to rib on people. I felt like even just like the small innocuous shit was starting to get to me, so I'm like, I can't do this. I need to kind of just, I need to divorce myself from the situation until I figure this shit out. And so I did. And, as it turns out, I eventually got over it, and life actually started to get back on track and things started to make sense a little bit again. But it's like, for a good solid period of my time, I was stuck in my parents' house and still kind of am. I was not a happy camper. Still kind of am not a happy camper. In fact, my problems are a little tad different now than they were back then, but it's like, at least at least I have a job and I'm getting paid at a reasonable rate. It's not, I mean, it's not as good as I would like it to be. It's not optimal, but it's a rate that I'm fine. I'm comfortable with. I can optimize it if anything. Like it's not terrible, and it's not like I have to pay rent or a whole lot of taxes on things. It's not like I'm living in my own place, you know. So I'm pretty much solid. I'm pretty much good where I'm at right now, and plus like having the shift up at my job means that I can actually focus on maybe getting an education and learning the code essentially, programming among other things. Like that could open up opportunities to find even better jobs and better paying positions. And, basically, it just could open the doors for me to find something new, something better. And plus, it might even make the job of doing this a lot better because then it'll probably give me access to understanding how fucking editing works because I have no fucking clue how to edit. I still have yet to find a decent, bit of software on my own time to be like, can I edit videos on you? And trust me, I tried 5 different apps and softwares from different companies and publishers, and it's like I can't use these, and some of them I can't even make heads or tails of, and the other half is like I think like at least 3 out of the 5 required you to have a fucking subscription to use them. So I'm like, no, I don't need this shit. So hey, if anybody watching this though, because if it ends up making gangbusters like my last one, if any of you guys watching this have any recommendations on some good YouTube editing software for videos and video content, and especially gaming content, I am all for it. Please give me your recommendations down below, and I'll do my own research at my own time, and I'll, and hopefully we can get, going on some pretty solid editing work. I could probably even look up YouTube tutorials on how to make it work and make it look fleek. I have no clue. But anyways, yeah. That's neither here or there. Let's just get back into it, shall we?
Who reported having at least 6 close friendships fell in half since the 90s. 1 in 5 men say they have no close friendships. Looking at all these statistics, the explosion of figures like Andrew Tate is not surprising at all.
I believe being a man is a blessing because it starts so difficult. I believe that every man is born without any value at all. I think that the world's never going to think you're important unless you make yourself important.
And recently, a new study came out about how young men are moving towards the right. And every other month, we, the liberal, sockdom, leftist, whatever you want to call the space online, performs the same song and dance. What's wrong with men? Why is this happening? Why don't we have a leftist Andrew Tate? We need to push men to the left. Andrew Tate rarely, if ever, talks about politics. Andrew Tate talks about men, and the left only talks about men when they talk about Andrew Tate. A few months ago, during one of the monthly song and dances, some progressive people I follow made the mistake of addressing men's issues, and the even bigger mistake of pointing their finger at their own spaces for not doing enough to address said men's issues.
This video is, I think, a year old by now, maybe? It's certainly been a while since this video got posted. Probably should have let these guys cook when this was happening, because, I mean, it cost you an election, so I don't know what else to tell you about that one. Also, like, as much of a joke as the MGTOW movement kind of is treated, it's true. The MGTOW thing only exists because there's a society that actively despises the people who helped to make the society what it is. And even then, like, even if it's just like the kind of guys who are literally doing nothing and are nothing, or just kind of weirdos, like, it still doesn't help that you're isolating them and ostracizing them, because it just means they're going to be more entrenched into that problem. Instead of helping them, you're making them, you're basically making it impossible for them to change or succeed in some other way. And so as a result, they contribute nothing, they will be nothing, and you will just help make them manifest that destiny a lot harder than if it was just like, even if it wasn't true, for example, like, even if you said this about a guy who actually was pretty decent, just because he can be associated with the idea that he's MGTOW, or he's he's MRA, or he's just right-wing, it automatically makes him a pariah, and therefore he becomes, ostracized by those around him, including family members, as we've seen a few times in the past. It's not fun, okay? And what you're doing is damaging to normal people in everyday society. You need to knock it the fuck off. But yeah, I digress. I myself, looked at the MGTOW movement, and I thought to myself, that makes sense. It's understandable. I actually kind of agree with this. I actually kind of agree with the idea of going our own way, maybe being our own independent individual. Focus on ourselves, focus on building ourselves up, try to be better people. Like, in spite of the spiteful liberals and women who look down on most men. But it's like, like, there's the argument for wanting to be better, and then there's the argument for, like, wanting to be better, and I can show you the quick and easy way to do that. All you have to do is just subscribe to my channel, and then, like, you have to become a member, And by becoming a member, I can give you tutorials on how to better yourself quick and easily. And all you have to do is just follow these guides and just keep subscribing and keep getting higher up on the tiers if you want to be even more Chadley, more successful. And it's like it becomes a giant Ponzi scheme by that point, and nobody wants to deal with that shit. And the moment I started getting, like I started watching these podcasts and I started getting recommended this shit was the moment I started kind of fizzling out of them. It's just like I don't watch you to sell me shit. I watch you because I want to hear your points and opinions, and I want to see you actually, like prove your points and actually be right about them. And if you're not actually right about them, and if you're actually spouting nonsense, especially, then I don't want to watch you. It's as simple as that. And eventually you can only go so far by saying that, oh well, we just need to be better people and stop worrying about what other people think of us. Just we have to be our own sort of like champions, our own monsters, our own demons. And it's like there's only so much of that rhetoric you can actually agree with before it eventually starts to sound like you're basically advocating for people to become, literal devils. And it gets a particularly spicier when it comes to the dynamic of how do you treat women in your relationships. And if your idea of treating like women in your relationships as an alpha Chad or Tyrone is to simply treat them like disposable trash or tissue paper, then no, it's not. I don't really agree with that sentiment. In fact, I am fucking terrible at this. I've noticed myself when I've tried dating a few times, and it's the sense that I have a problem where I become a bit of a hopeless romantic, and I just put a little too much effort to wanting to maybe be I don't know how to put this, to be more considerate of the other person, as well as just I'm also a lot more I have the problem of being too emotionally entangled in something, and that's mainly due to the fact that it's actually kind of one of the biggest reasons why I have crippling trust issues. It's because I just if I put more of myself into something, it becomes more integral to me. And being in a relationship is essentially that. And if you put a lot of yourself into a relationship, it's going to be devastating when you finally have to let it go. And I've never dated someone or really dated anyone long enough for that to be a thing. But I could already tell just by my interactions with some of the women that I've had in my life that, could easily be hopelessly emotionally dependent on another person. And, I just choose not to engage in that. And I just choose to just kind of isolate myself in that sense as well. It's not just because I'm afraid of getting hurt emotionally. I'm also afraid of just, being, coming off as maybe creepy, maybe saying something out of line, or maybe, I in my pursuit of trying to be romantic, I basically become insufferable, and I don't want to do that, and I don't know where the limitation is. So it's my own struggle, but there lies my problem. That's just a bit of 2 cents about me, how I feel about things in my own life. Feel free to comment down below on what your relationship or attachment styles are, because I can definitely tell you that I'm a little too dependent on needing that emotional gratification. And that's my problem. Like, the sexual aspect of it is, I think most men could agree is kind of necessary, because, the whole point of being in a relationship is to eventually pass on your genes. It's ingrained in every animal, especially men. They need to pass on their genes, even if it's just in a pseudo-esque fashion, with a nice handy amounts of contraceptives among other things. But it's like, they need to unwind and break, and break off some steam at some points. You basically saying why bother having sex is kind of like a slap in the face of the naturalistic aspect of it. It's like, well, it's just nature running its course. What do you expect me to do about my own natures? It's quite the dilemma. But the point being is that, like, I don't really care for the sexual aspect of it nearly as much as I do just the physical intimacy of it. And I really would like to have at least that for a nice, decent while. So that way it's, I get those needs met, because those needs are far more pronounced than my need for sexual gratification. So, yeah, there you go. Moving on.
The mistake of addressing men's issues, and the even bigger mistake of pointing their finger at their own spaces for not doing enough to address said men's issues.
Recently, there were some statistics by healthcare company Cigna indicating that men are the loneliest generation. And addressing it doesn't mean that you turn your back on issues pertaining to women, but it does mean that we should be focused on what it is in society that is leading to this epidemic, what the left can do to offer solutions, and how we can basically fight back against the more nefarious figures who have filled the void that men are struggling with, people like Jordan Peterson and what have you. Now, recently, Vosh, who's a popular streamer, had tweeted this thread that I think is really, really important to address. He writes, "I cannot stress enough how important it is to understand that 12-year-old white boys on Twitch are not being pulled into fascism because of some Machiavellian desire to preserve and expand their privileges. It's because the right talks to them and the left doesn't."
Okay, so this is the thing that has always boggled my mind, is what is the hatred with Jordan Peterson? Like, I actually sat down one time and I'm just like, why does everybody hate Jordan Peterson? Because so many people talk shit about the guy. I'm like, why are so many people talking about shit about this one professor in some university somewhere that nobody's heard of or even gives a shit about? And so I go and I watch a video by Jordan Peterson, and then I watch another and another and another until I finally understood what the problem was. And surprisingly, magnificently, amazingly, I found literally nothing. Absolutely nothing. The most I found was him talking to college students and making lectures about certain things and about certain mythologies and history, among other shit, right? That's the most I've ever seen. I've seen him talk about the Bible, talk about stories from the Bible, and as well as a few other different things, but that's all I've ever really seen of the guy. I've never seen anything by him, and even some of the statements that people do give him crap for, when I actually go and I look at it in its official context, I find that I'm left wanting, because it's like, I don't even see what they're saying here. In fact, what I'm mostly seeing is them ripping this thing out of context, and it's making it sound more nefarious than it actually is. And mind you, some of the things that they rip out of context from Jordan is like the most innocuous shit. And it could be something as simple as just stating that, yes, there are two existing biological genders. It's like, no fucking shit. I mean, like, look, we can argue and debate about the idea that there are multiple genders. If there are multiple genders, I'm not going to fucking get into this debate. All I'm just going to say is that to say that, physically, and using your own eyes, can you determine that there are different types of genders in the world outside of just the two? Not really. There's only really two. There's only really two. Everywhere you look, there's person with a fucking elephant trunk for a groin, and then there's a person with two nammaries, like, kind of, drooping from their chest, and a fucking pocket under, around their crotch. It's like that. It's not. This shouldn't be rocket science, but for some bizarre reason, it's like, why is this a thing that people have to argue about? It's like, I don't get it. I really don't. it's like, oh, but there's possibly multiple different genders. It's like, what the hell do you mean there are multiple different genders? I'm pretty fucking sure there's only ever been two. But I don't know. That part of the argument has always eluded me. But that's the part that I just don't understand. And it's just like, yeah, I mean, like, it's just, he's calling a spade a spade. I mean, like, why is this such a big deal? Even J.K. Rowling has gotten into hot water over this shit. And games like Hogwarts Legacy get a lot of backlash just because of some stupid shit that some celebrity says. Or really, no, I can't even say celebrity because she's literally the author and the rights holder of the fucking IP for which the game is based on. You know, like, it's not like, again, they're saying anything that's legitimately wrong. It's statistically accurate. It is factually correct. It's like, I don't get the argument. But I'm sure somebody in the comment section is going to explain it to me. So I'm not going to dwell on this for longer than is necessary. I don't understand the hatred around Jordan. I've only ever seen like him in interviews and him talking about talking about mythology and among other things, right? I've seen him take do lectures in classes. I've seen him in interviews. I've seen him debate people in interviews, as well as on a stage, among other things. And I've never heard I've never experienced anything from Jordan that made me question Jordan's ability to reason. So there. I don't agree with everything he's ever said, but I've never found that anything that he's ever said lacked any basis in reality, unlike some people. So that's just how I feel on the subject. I don't know what else to say. It confuses me every time they bring up Jordan Peterson. It's like, what the hell did he do? What did he do? Did he spit on somebody's shoe at some point by accident? Maybe he was talking to somebody during a lecture, and then some shrapnel, some fleck went from his mouth and onto that person's face, and they never forgave him since. I don't know. It's like, I can't begin to understand what the actual reason for hating Jordan is, other than the fact that he's just a guy who says shit. And he says it, with such certainty that it pisses people off. I don't know. I would think that if you were going to be teaching something, you would want to be very certain about the topics from which you are teaching. But I digress. We're just going to move on. God.
Are not being pulled into fascism because of some Machiavellian desire to preserve and expand their privileges. It's because the right talks to them and the left doesn't.
The responses to these tweets and this content were very normal, level-headed, and respectful. Me when I lie. LMAO, cry about it. Boo f***ing who? Oh no, poor widow men having problems. Boo f***ing who? Grow the f*** up then. Have men considered being smarter? I'm enjoying all these sad little moids and their sad little tweets about their sad, pathetic lives. Sounds like a personal problem. Is the lack of compassion for men in the room with us right now? Maybe men are just not good people then. I'm so fucking tired of people trying to make male loneliness a huge societal problem. Yeah, no, their fifis are not my responsibility, and I shouldn't have to be punished because they can't get their shit together as human beings. Grow the up.
Okay, well, first of all, no one's saying that society should be punished for alienating men. All they're saying is that men have a problem, and you're over here just like, why the fuck should I have to do anything about it? That's really the issue here, is that they're basically like, we have a problem, and you're looking them straight in the face, and you're like, nah, you don't have a fucking problem. You just need to grow the fuck up. You just need to pick yourselves up and just get back to work. Toiling over some stupid shit and making more money for billion-dollar corporations like you always do. Making our world much more convenient, much more safer, and much, much more fucking easier. And it's like, I don't know what else to say about that other than you people are fucking deranged.
Why are we trying to win these entitled little predators over? The left isn't for them. That's why they go right in the first place. We're all lonely and alienated. It's young men going to the alt-right in droves. The problem isn't our messaging, it's them. It's literally not our problem. Men flock to Andrew Tate not because they're lonely, but because they're bigots. Hope this helps. Nah, it's just misogynists being louder than before and not getting laid. LOL. Cry harder, losers. 90% of all homicides recorded worldwide were committed by male perpetrators. We should just get rid of all males, to be honest. This includes trans women, as they still retain male violence.
I find that this tweet in particular is hilarious because it's also reminds me again, we're going back in time. We're going back to the election that just happened, and immediately after losing, they look at Latinos, they look at Hispanics, and they're just like, damn, you guys didn't turn out for us. You guys are fucking assholes. I don't care if they deport you. And some of them are just like, absolutely you should get deported. Screw you. And it's just like, okay. Like, they really don't see the issue here. They really don't. And it's sad, humorous, and frankly kind of disgusting.
By the way, you know the Tumblr feminists who were like, all men are sexist and rapists, male tears, penises are evil, blah 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 back in the day? Well, this is them now. Should've just let me cook back then. Listen up, chuckle. I'm white, socially awkward, autistic, in my 40s, ugly, overweight, crippled, got a weird balding pattern, and have bad skin. You know what I didn't do? Choose to become a fascist, because I recognize most of the sort that look like me are the problem.
Man, this just screams male pick-me behavior I have ever seen. It is like I'm gonna just look. It's no secret, all right. I'm pretty sure most women, even from that side of the aisle, can attest to this. Most of these guys who are out here virtue signaling like they do in this manner are literally just looking for someone who will literally agree, like who will literally just take them. They just want to be taken. They just want to get laid. They themselves, the people who are complaining the most about these issues and are championing these causes, are quite frankly the same people who also want to be laid. Then they're looking for anyone to take them. And they think that by co-opting the movements and co-opting the ideology is going to help put them in a better position to do that. And that's just not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. I'm sorry to break it to you. I'm sorry to tell you this. I'm sorry to have to be the one to tell you this, guys. But if you're out here doing shit like this and you're saying shit like this on the internet, no one's going to fucking care. In fact, you're just going to make yourself look more like a crazy person. And also, all of these problems that you have, my guy, have you thought about at least visiting a dermatologist? I mean, like, I had bad skin at one point. And then I went to go see a dermatologist, and then I got that fixed up, and now I don't look nearly as bad as I used to. I actually look a lot better than I did back in the day. It's kind of one of the reasons why I went on a bit of a hiatus. That one almost year-long hiatus that I did was not only because like I just didn't feel like like I was really adding or contributing anything to the overall YouTube side of things or conversation, or really thought that my channel was. I didn't think I was going to be able to do anything truly substantial, and plus I didn't think, I was, really all that entertaining. But, I decided to give it another go, and I have a bit more confidence in wanting to do it now, not just because I have a VTuber model to work with, but also simply because, I'm just not the same person that I was back then. I feel a lot different. I feel a bit more confident now. And the bad skin problems that I used to have, like, as much as they didn't really change how I feel personally, they, like, I do feel a little bit better about my complexion to where, like, I honestly don't mind going or, walking around in, like, just, like, a t-shirt and maybe, like, being in relationships anymore. It's like, I don't feel nearly as awkward as I used to in my own skin because of it. So, yeah. And I, funny enough, I say that, but I haven't really been trying since the last one I tried to do, and it didn't pan out well at all. It's, that's a long story, but either way, you can fix a lot of these problems, my guy, if you just bother to put some effort into it.
I may be hideously ugly and pathetic, but at least I'm not a fascist. Thank you for your input, buddy. You're, really helping the situation. The reason young men flock to alt-right MRA movements is because the left gives brain-dead advice to young men. We need to be more compassionate to them, for our own sake. I'm sorry, but how is respect women brain-dead advice? What advice? Don't rape? Don't be a rapist is bad advice? Help, I have no friends or community, I feel suicidal. Have you considered not raping? Act like a decent fucking human being. It's not hard. Is brain dead advice? Brain dead advice like get consent and don't be a Nazi and women are people.
Okay, well, first off, men do look for consent. Let's just break that one down. Let's break this entire sentence down because that encompasses everything. Men do actually try to get consent. A majority of men do try to get consent, unless you meet these people at clubs or bars, in which case that's always debatable if they're actually looking for consent or looking for an easy access. But that's, again, that's neither here or there. And don't be a Nazi. No one's actually a Nazi. Again, I made a joke in my last shoe video about like what does my swastika say, and it's only funny because nobody actually has one. Nobody in their right mind agrees with the fucking Nazi regime. Nobody cares about Hitler. Nobody cares about the fucking Third Reich. Nobody actually cares about the ideas that Hitler espoused. What the hell are you people talking about? And then and women are people. Well, no shit, you're people. And I love how women will always say, oh, well, women are people too. And men should just, treat us like normal. And it's like, oh, okay. And so we treat you like normal. And it's just like, I don't like the way you guys talk to us. And it's just like, well, make up your fucking mind then. Do you want to be in on the joke or do you want to be treated differently? Like, where is the zone here? Like, where is the line that should and shouldn't be crossed here? Because clearly there is one, and you're too fucking, like, full of yourselves to really just say where it is. And it's not the most difficult thing in the world. It's like, well, oh, we're people too. Well, okay. And so just treat us like normal. Fine, we'll treat you like normal. I swear to God, the same thing happened with the nice guys. You want to know something? You want to know what's entirely funny about the whole nice guy thing is that women themselves asked for it. They literally did. I can still remember when I was a kid growing up, my folks, other people in my family, even people outside of my family were just like, when you grow up, you're going to be a gentleman, you're going to be a nice guy, you're going to be the kind of guy that that women will absolutely like, that they absolutely want. And all you have to do is just wear a suit, be, dress fancy, like look nice at all times, and have a job and a career that people actually give a shit about. Right? Right? And while that's mostly true, a lot of guys took that as to mean like, well, I should at least encompass some of those aspects. And so they tried to at least look and act the part, right? And women demonstratively said across the board, fucking no, because they realized it's performative. And it's like, well, yeah, it's performative, because what the fuck did you think? These guys literally are trying to find stable jobs. They're trying to be like the kind of guy that you want, because that's what you were asking for. And you literally are saying no because it's not the same. And it's like, well, what the fuck do you want? Like, guys were very literal, and they're usually very literal when you say shit, because it's like, they don't play mind games. I don't know how else to tell you this. Men do not play fucking mind games. You tell them to do something, they'll just fucking do it. If their boss came to them and told them to jump, they'll ask how high. It's the same concept. It's like, you just tell them what the fuck you want. It's not the hardest thing under the sun. All you have to do is just be straight with them and just be like, hey, I need you to do this thing for me in bed because I really like the way you do that sort of thing. Or, hey, I want you to not act a certain way in public because it makes me feel embarrassed. Hey, I need you to do me a favor and just, whenever you ask me for, if whatever food I want, you just choose for yourself most of the time because I can't be bothered to think what I want to eat in that current moment. Just be fucking honest about it. It's like you don't have to jump through. You don't have to play these fucking mind games. You could just say what you really want and what you really mean, and everything would be fine. So many problems would be gone if you just started exercising honesty. And which is hilarious because that's the one thing that women will bitch and whine about the men, especially the nice guys. It's like, oh, well, they're not really nice. They're kind of assholes, especially when they don't get what they want, which is the attention that they crave. And it's like, well, no fucking shit. These guys literally have nothing else. They literally have nothing better to do. You telling them no is like telling their entire reason for existing in this current moment means absolutely nothing. It's like everything they've ever known and everything that they were told growing up is like it's like nonsense. And it's just like, no fucking shit, they're gonna lose their goddamn mind. Have you fucking seen what you and your mother have been telling them since they were fucking younger? It's like, my brother in Christ, you literally asked this, you asked for this, you literally wanted this yourselves, and you said no. Nah, fam, I reject the offer. It's like, god damn it. Anyways, enough of that shit. As much as I don't sympathize for the fact that some of these dudes get completely unhinged when they get rejected, I can sympathize with the fact that they are a bit flummoxed. They're a bit miffed. They're kind of a bit angry about that because it's like, but I mean, I was told that this is how you talk and how you get the girl. And it's like, well, yeah, that's what you were told, but that's not what they want. You have to know what they want and not what they say. That's the difference. And then they're like, well, how the fuck do I know that? And then there's like all of these fucking people out here creating Ponzi schemes to tell them how to fucking do that. And it's like, well, how do I actually do that? And it's like, oh, well, it's simple. You subscribe to my members only like tutorial about how you get women, how to flirt and how to talk to a woman. I can help you fix that real quick. Like, no. No fucking no. Stop it. Stop it. Just be your fucking self. And you will find someone who is at least going to accept you for you and not for whatever fucking nonsensical bullshit caricature you create for yourself. Just be fucking you and it'll just happen naturally. That's the way I look at it, and that's how everybody should look at it. Because I've seen enough relationships, I've seen enough successful ones, I've even seen people get together, and I've looked into this. I've also seen the dating market. I've seen the success stories and the failures, and I can easily tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that if you just simply be you and just treat the women just with a bit more with a bit of a deft hand in terms of preferential treatment compared to some others, it's not gonna come back and bite you in the ass in any way, shape, or form. It's really not. It's just gonna be as simple as just altering slightly the way you interact with people. And again, going back again to the argument, women are people. Okay, so if women are people, right? Explain to me where this line is. Like, when you say that you just want to be friends, you just want to be one of the guys, essentially, well, a lot of guy humor and a lot of guy behavior is just kind of, it's a tad different from female conversations and female behavior. Guys will just simply tell it how it is, and they'll even rib each other because it's funny. Because it's funny to them. Because it's funny to us. I constantly get ribbed on, and I do a bit of ribbing myself, and it's sometimes results in me saying some pretty out of pocket shit, but it's like, if you can't handle that, then don't fucking come out here saying, oh, I just want to be friends. I just want to be one of the guys. It's like, no, you fucking don't. If you want to be one of the guys? All right, then don't fucking cry and bitch and moan when they make fucking random sex jokes about anatomy and some shit. And also when they are punching your arm, just like, you get it? You see what I'm picking up? You picking up what I'm putting down? And among other things, right? You can't be fucking this fucking ridiculous about a simple conversation, just a normal, everyday, adult male conversation. That's just how it is. You can't handle it, get the fuck out of the kitchen. Actually, I probably shouldn't make that analogy either, but you get the point. If you can't take the heat, get the fuck out of the kitchen. It's the simplest thing. Like, if you want to be a part of male friendships or want to have male friends, you have to be willing to make some concessions, and you have to learn not to take everything that a guy says at face value, because they're not out here playing fucking mind games like you are. It's like, even when they're up front and they're saying some pretty erroneous shit, like, they're very obvious about the fact that they're saying stupid shit, and everyone can sense it except for you, apparently. Like, a guy's very obvious when they're making a joke, because again, when guys rip each other, they rip each other out of fun and out of just for the lulz, just for the shits and giggles of it, and not necessarily to piss each other off. Because most dudes, like, they're kind of used to being the butt of a joke to some degree. Everyone's been a butt of a joke to some degree, especially nowadays. You can't escape it. In fact, I would say that men are pretty much exercised in the fucking, they have a pretty good exercise in, really utilizing that sort of, like jab and get jabbed humor. It's just so weird. I don't understand why this is so hard for some people to understand. It's like, you don't have to fucking. Anyways, I'm getting lost in the sauce now. I need to move on. Let me go ahead and just go back a few seconds. Anyways, but you get the point. To overall summarize, just treat people how you want to be treated. And when it comes to guys, just be fucking honest about what you want. And if you can't, if you can't be fucking honest about it, and if you just want to have guy friends, then you have to make some concessions about the fact that you want guy friends. And also, especially when guys start getting feelings for you, it's like, I've seen this problem a dozen times. Like, when feelings start becoming a factor, you have to cut it off. Women understand this, at least, but you can't. Like, that's like, oh, well, it's kind of annoying that I can't be friends with you without having the problem of you wanting to fuck me. And it's like, well, of course that becomes a problem if they're single and you're pretty chill for the most part and you're actually kind of friendly to them. Like, who's a better candidate for being a mate than you? It's like, no fucking shit they're gonna fall for you. No fucking shit they're gonna want to date you. It's like, are you kidding me? Again, the equation here isn't hard. It's very simple. But they don't seem to understand this. They don't seem to recognize the fact that having a vagina and having tits somehow makes you attractive to every prospective male within the general vicinity. And if you're very cool with a few of them, they might start developing attachments. It's like, no goddamn shit they will. It's not hard to do. It really isn't. And if you're really like these guys, and if you're really cool with them, and you just want to be friends with them, here's a simple thing. You just make it very clear and obvious up front that, hey, I just want to be friends. I don't want this to be anything more complicated. If you do that, then at least the ones who are actually going to stick around are going to stick around because they just want to be friends as well. And then you won't have to deal with that problem. Congratulations. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I really don't. It's like, I really don't know what else to say. So we'll just move on. We'll move on.
Community, I feel
My God.
suicidal. Have you considered not raping? act like a decent fucking human being, it's not hard, is brain dead advice. Brain dead advice like get consent and don't be a Nazi and women are people. Walking up to men struggling with loneliness and depression like
kids, don't be racist.
Incredible. Here's my actual advice I would give to my teen boys as a leftist. 1. Always get enthusiastic consent. 2. Save the planet. 3. Don't say that. It's actually kind of racist.
Okay, that part has always eluded me. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? It's like, okay, so weird take. Here's the actual advice I give to my teen boys as a leftist. Always get enthusiastic consent, save the planet. Don't actually say that. It's actually kind of racist. What does this third part mean in conjunction with all of these other parts? I don't get that. Every time this sentence pops up, I'm always confused because I'm like, what are you actually saying here? It's like something about this conflicts with the other, but you're not going to bother to correct that and actually, reformat, re-solidify your statement. What is this? What is this nonsense I am reading? What is this nonsense I am reading? What is the point you are trying to make? I don't understand this particular comment, and it boggles my mind every time I have to sit here and listen to it and read it. Like, the hell.
Like, what the f is this? How does this address men and their issues?
It doesn't.
Why does their advice always seem to be, become a liberal? Hey men, here's how to fix all your problems. Agree with me politically. Men flock to the MRA movement because they're the largest beneficiaries of MRA shit. Imagine saying women flock to women's rights activism because they're the biggest beneficiaries of women's rights. Like, no f***ing shit. Let's be honest. Aside from procreation purposes, men have become obsolete. Most women can find other methods of achieving orgasm without a man there. And speaking as a man, most of us are hard to be around, and I don't blame any woman for just saying, no thanks.
Again, just another fucking, like, try-hard male feminist out here looking for any potential, like, pity sex he can possibly find. It's like, my God, just grow a fucking pair, my guy. Just literally just get some self-esteem. It's not, this shouldn't be hard. It is hard for some dudes, but it should not be hard. Just be yourself. It's not, stop playing up this weird sort of caricature and just be yourself. It's like, we all know you're not actually being honest. You're just saying whatever's going to be the most likely route for you to be in. And then once you're in, you're then going to initiate your master plan to eventually rizzing up some of these women, to eventually get to the overall objective of your life, which is to succeed in achieving coitus. You don't need to do this, guy. You just need to be your fucking self. This isn't hard. I mean, granted, I'm not out here looking for coitus. I haven't had coitus either, but it's like, I'm not gonna fucking lose my mind over it, for God's sake. Just be yourself. Stop trying to play ball for people, and stop agreeing with people that you probably don't actually agree with, and that you're just playing it up just for fucking attention. Nobody cares.
Oh my god, dude. This is what every Just Pearly Things tweet looks like to me. Just with the genders swapped. This is pathetic. You know what fixes male loneliness? Jerking off. As a man, I'll say this. Sit down, shut up, and beat one out. You'll feel better. I promise.
Well, you're not wrong about that, but, everything is temporary, and certainly adding more, doing the occasional, tug session definitely isn't what I would consider to be optimal, but, it's certainly a temporary fix. But we've also are seeing some interesting implications, and I haven't really seen any studies yet, but we are seeing some interesting conversation and implications about how, the occasional tug session every now and again here and there is it does something to the male mind that makes you look at sex like it's a tokenistic thing, like it's a transaction. Kind of like how women look at men and they think that their status and value is also a form of transaction when it comes to marriage. And it's like, no, that's not how that fucking works. But anyways, it's a similar problem, I imagine. And I don't really see any way out of this particular issue except for, just finding a girlfriend. And that problem in itself raises so many more doors and questions than just simply find a girlfriend, right? It's okay, where do you even begin to find one? Where do I even start? Like, what will be a good choice for myself? Like, how low is how low should I go when it comes to my standards, and what's a suitable standard for myself to have when it comes to going into a relationship? Like it, like there are some interesting questions to be had, especially in every given situation. But it's all about determining, like, in the moment, like, do I want this? No, maybe I shouldn't pursue it then. And I think a lot of guys can easily deduce, especially nowadays, what would be beneficial for them in the long run when it comes to dating any particular woman at any particular point of their day. And it's like, you get a new coworker, it's a woman, congratulations, it's a new prospective female within the workforce. I'm sure your bosses are practically sucking themselves off at the notion that they finally achieved the one thing that they wanted to do, which is push the dial of diversity quota just ever so higher. But now we have to solve the next problem, is like, oh, you talk to her a little bit, you get introduced to her, and it's like, oh, she seems nice, she seems kind of cute. But then you realize she looks kind of young, she doesn't seem like she has a whole lot of experience. You realize that she's kind of, like, this is kind of an entry-level job that just about anyone just, straight out of high school could probably take. She looks pretty short, she seems like she could be around that age. And you just decide right there and then, probably best not to get the headache and problem of having to fucking quantify that shit. So you just leave it be, right? You just fucking leave it be because you don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. You just move on with your life, right? That's usually how the thought process boils down to most of the time. It's like, is this person available? Maybe. Would they be a problem? Potentially. Do I want to run the risk? No. That's usually how it gets boiled down. It's pretty simple and easily factored. It's a very structured process. Most guys do it naturally in their own minds. They don't even think about that shit unless the woman just happens to be very, very aggressive in their attempts for flirtation, in which case then the guy might start to feel otherwise. But that's, again, we're just picking apart the problem. Like, this is why I say that looks are important. And when I was making the comment in the last shoe video, by the way, about how women wearing yoga pants and a sweatshirt and, a tank top and short shorts is kind of, it's kind of, it's kind of a bad thing. I kind of make it sound like it's a bad thing. It's not really a bad thing, but it's like, you could vary up your style a bit. Like, you have an ass. Congratulations. I don't know what else to tell you other than congratulations. You have a fit body and you have a nice ass. How about you tell us something else about yourself? Have you ever heard of something called color theory? Ever thought about maybe dressing a bit more, less provocatively, with, a less focus on being a bit more provocative and being a bit more like, not just modest, but like a bit more interesting in your attire? It's like, it's not, I'm not asking for women to basically just be like, dress in a way that's uncomfortable, but just like dress in a way that's at least interesting to look at. I mean, like, look at our fucking grandparents. Like, they basically did the exact same shit. They're just like, oh, what am I gonna wear this day? Oh, well, if you look at modern generations, they'll wear something with equivalent to yoga pants and whatever else that would fit with that. And meanwhile, our grandparents, they'll just wear like maybe like a nice little sundress with like a nice like straw hat, a really big straw hat that kind of complements the fact that they're kind of short, and they probably have a small face. It's literally, it's this, and it's using like really bright colors, like maybe like a solid white or something. It's like, it's not the hardest thing in the world to pull off. It's like, just be a bit more interesting look wise in your attire than just, hey, I have a body. How does it look? And it's like, even when women say that that's not what they're doing, it's like, I don't imagine you wearing this for any other reason other than just because it's comfortable and because it gets you eyes on the daily. I can't imagine any other reason why you would wear this other than for this particular reason, just because it's comfortable and because it gets eyes on you. It's like I don't know why else you would wear it, and there's too many of you who wear it to where I cannot be convinced that isn't the reason. So vary up your fucking attire. Anyways, enough said. Moving on.
The gender swapped. This is pathetic. You know what fixes male loneliness? Jerking off. As a man, I'll say this. Sit down, shut up, and beat one out. You'll feel better. I promise. Yeah, guys, just beat one out. Just off. Just watch porn. That man will be very disappointed in all of you. It's so funny how men feel entitled to a girlfriend. No, you sexist freak. When one side is like, wanting a girlfriend is sexist entitlement, and the other side is like, here's how to get a girlfriend. I don't know, bro. What happened to males just kicking the bucket? Now they just come on here and try to make their loneliness and misery into some social justice issue. Oh, trust me, men are still kicking the bucket. And when they're not giving mind-blowing advice like just to be a liberal, they're outright dismissing men's issues completely. It's not our job to educate them. Since men created the problem, they need to take steps to fix it. We have other things to care about. Men can figure out their own problems that they created. Again, it's not women's jobs to change how men are socialized. It's a man issue and y'all need to address that amongst yourselves. Men created their own problems. Men can solve their own problems. The left is busy. Why does the well-being of other people concern me? Leftist, by the way. It's all systemic issues and societal factors and blah 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 until it's a man and then suddenly it's pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. This problem is just a consequence of the patriarchy. Now take a wild guess about which gender created the patriarchy. Solve your own problems and leave women alone. These people rightly mock the bootstraps rhetoric until the subject is a man, and then it's bootstraps all the way down. They would never talk about any other group this way. It's wild. And it's kind of
I know, and it really does beg the question where a lot of this hate comes from. Like, speaking as a guy, I can't imagine where all this hate comes from, other than maybe they just had really bad encounters and relationships with guys. But that's really, I mean, I don't know what else to say about that other than that's just a misfortunate issue of circumstance, and also just, I mean, if you're out here dating guys and you're dating and and the guys you end up dating are kind of dickheads, I mean, that says more about you than it does the guys. I mean, like, I don't know what else to tell you about that one, Chief, but it's like, if you're having problems with guys and you have an attitude about it because, like, guys are all just, one second.
like both sides.
Ugh, sorry about that. My hooks came in. I kind of got off-centered there because I accidentally hit the unpause button when I had it paused already. But anyways, the point being is that, like, I don't get it. Like, it's like, other than the fact that, like, you just have your terrible experience with men is built up off of your experience with dating them and socializing with them. I mean, again, this says more about your ability to discern what are actually decent people than really the men themselves. It's like, eventually you have to kind of recognize that if you're dating an asshole for like the 10th time this week or this month, there's a common factor and correlation here, right? You think that you would just reason that maybe I'm just not good at this. Maybe I'm just not good at finding the right dudes, at picking the right guys. And this is where having guy friends would be very, very essential. It's because, like, other guys can tell you what decent guys look like. And they're not all that afraid most of the time to tell you that, hey, I wouldn't fucking touch this guy with a 10-foot pole. He seems kind of fishy. He seems kind of weird. Everything about him seems kind of performative. I wouldn't try anything with this guy. Like, you think this is kind of why you would want to have male friends to begin with. It's because, like, they would be the first line of the defense outside of your own fucking father on what would be a good, suitable mate for yourself. It's kind of why fathers even get a bit, disgruntled at the notion that you have boyfriends to begin with, and it's because any potential dating prospects raise a subtle level of problems and questions within the mind of a father that is very palpable. It's only palpable because they actually give a shit, right? When it comes to like guy friends, though, they'll give a shit, but they're not gonna tell you no when you're like, oh, I want to ruin my fucking life anyway, so I'm just not gonna listen to you guys. And they're just like, well, fucking okay then. I mean, it's your funeral. But it's like, no, the father usually is very stern. They'll usually tell you straight off the bat how they feel about it, and they'll tell you exactly what they find to be a problem with the guy in question. Because if they don't like the guy, well, guess what happens? You know, it becomes a massive fucking issue. So, yeah, it's one of the reasons why guys get nervous when you introduce them to your family. It's because it's like it's like the mother is never usually the problem. It's always the father. It's like, okay, so I'm dating this girl, I'm about to go meet her family. How the fuck do I impress her family? How do I impress her father in particular? It's like it creates so many more problems when you don't have that second opinion. And again, you know, like, if you're going to be dating guys, you really should be a bit more, you know, focused on trying to find the right type of guy instead of just going with how, you know, with how the feeling goes for every given situation. If you're going based off of feeling, you're setting yourself up for failure, because all of the people out here, all of these dating gurus, these people who understand the game and play the game, so to speak, they know how to play on that. That's their entire shtick. Is that they read you, immediately discern what type of approach that you prefer best, and so they act upon it. And it's your fucking fault if you allow that to continue further than just, you know, the introductory phase. It's your fucking fault if you let them go all the way with it. You know, there's only so much of like men are fucking assholes and men are just garbage rhetoric that you can possibly throw at men in particular before you have to look at your fucking selves at some point and be like, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I'm the one making all the bad decisions. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. I just read the subtext of this chapter. Pull yourself up by your balls. What the fuck is that? I never even noticed that. That's funny. I just now noticed that. Anyways, we're moving on.
All the way down. They would never talk about any other group this way. It's wild. And it's kind of like both sides are telling men to pull themselves up by their bootstraps.
I'm sorry if I'm flicking my mouse every now and again.
And the other is like, fuck off. And when they're not telling men to straight up fuck off, they're giving the 200 IQ answer that nobody has ever heard before.
The only reason I flick my mouse is because I'm trying to make sure that my capture card is actually working as intended. It's actually keeping up with the video from my computer, because otherwise the audio gets desynced, and that's kind of annoying. And I've never had this problem before. It might just be a me thing. I don't know. Maybe maybe the last video just had a different problem, but, you know, like, it didn't seem like the RoboCop video, at least as far as I've gotten into it, seemed to have had this problem. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm just overreacting. Maybe I'm just imagining it. Maybe it's just like it's taking more time to buffer and actually render the video as it's recording. I don't fucking know. Anyways, that's just the reason why I keep flicking the mouse.
Just show your emotions, bro. And I'm not dismissing this problem, okay? I've made videos talking about this. Oh, you're crying at your grandfather's funeral? Okay, faggot. And studies have shown that men are scared to be vulnerable, even around the homies. And can you blame them when the media says stupid like this? Fellas, is it woke to open up to your fellow men and discuss history?
Well, I mean, yeah, because you don't know what fucking thing you could possibly say is going to trigger somebody, including other dudes. And, I mean, I don't see... I mean, it's not necessarily a problem of like opening up to other guys. It's opening up to guys you're not familiar with, you're not cool with. You know, like if you're cool with a guy, you're more inclined to open up with them. And most guys and most dudes understand that when you open up to somebody, they're not going to. It's not because, you know, like it's due to the fact that they trust you, and it's not necessarily because of the fact that, you know, like, you know, that's because of any particular other thing. It's just like, oh, I trust you a little bit more, and you know, like now that I gotten to know you a bit better, I feel safe to talk up to you about certain things now. And it's like, oh, I recognize that. I'm gonna talk to you about stuff that I think is awesome, things that I care about, and you know, like open up to you about my personal stuff. And it's like, and then it just keeps going back and forth until eventually they just become bros. They just become good friends. You know, like that isn't a difficult concept to understand. The problem, of course, is that the reason why they don't want is that they wouldn't be just upfront about how they say about how they think and how they feel is because, you know, they don't want to inadvertently say something to a guy who's not open to to ideas and opinions that potentially have variables to them. And so if your first, let's say your first attempt to talking to somebody is like, so what's your personal politics? They're probably, and if they answer, I'm a Democrat, you know, like I'm probably going to already have a particular bias towards them just as a result of them admitting that, right? Because I already admitted that I don't really care for them, but I digress. You know, like I might not be inclined to want to talk to them about specific political things. But, you know, like if, for example, you know, like I got to talking to them, we share similar hobbies, similar interests, you know, like I got to know them a bit more better than just simply what their politics are. And the moment we do get to serious conversations about politics, you know, like it's like, oh yeah, it's like I'm also, you know, like I'm a Democrat. You know, like I care about these particular things, but I also like to play video games. You know, like I think my favorite game is like the Devil May Cry series because I think it's interesting. I think it's cool. You know, like I like action games. I like RTSs or some other shit. And it's just like, oh, well, that's pretty cool. And it's just like, you know, like what are your views about certain topics around this around your party? And it's just like I like the views from my party, but I don't like some of the things that they have to say about those views. And it's like, well, that's fair game. That's same, very much the same. And then when you do find that you have some contrary opinions to one another, you know, like it's not immediately treated with the same level of trepidation and just like, oh my god, I can't believe he said that, just kind of thing. You know, like you know, like as it would be if you just went straight out cold with it. You know, like it's then like more so like, oh, that's interesting to know. I actually kind of disagree. I actually think this way about this thing. It's just like, you know, you're free to feel that way, bro, but I happen to feel this way about this thing, and I don't think there's anything you could possibly say that'll change my mind on that topic. Oh yeah. Well, what about this particular point? And then this particular point. Okay, I see you there, but what about this other point? You know, what about my counter argument to this other point? And it's just like, damn. Okay. Now there's an actual discussion. There's a debate to be had. And that's a healthy relationship. That's a healthy conversation to be had amongst the men. Is that we don't put emotion into it unless someone makes a big deal about it because they're a little too triggered by it, or because they're a little too put off kilter by the fact that you might have said something rather obtuse or erroneous to them in particular. But it's like, you know, that's kind of an affront to them. But it's like, if it's all layered well enough and it's all softly, you know, like suggested and, you know, promoted, it's like it's no different than just, you know, like convincing someone that of your own point in an actual debate, right? You know, like you first give them the reasons why you think a specific way, and then you hit them with a coup de grace. It's like this isn't hard to discern. And it's certainly not hard to really consider or even debate. It's a simple question of like, you know, are you cool? Cool. Let's talk about shit that we actually think are fun and that's actually interesting to us. And then after you get through that, then you talk about other shit, right? You talk about real shit. You talk about the fucked up shit maybe. And it's like that's usually how this all spins and where it all spuns into, is that eventually you move on from talking about the safe for work shit to talking about the not safe for work shit. It's why dark humor is so popular among men and why ribbing is such a massive thing. It's because we do not give the slightest fuck. Anyways, moving on.
Like this? Fellas, is it woke to open up to your fellow men and discuss history? Men are socialized to believe strength, dominance, and stoicism are behaviors of a real man. Is it any surprise that men are lonely and have less friends nowadays? You have to be vulnerable to make friends. Don't tell me there aren't systemic problems affecting men. Now, while a lot of this may be true, men have been socialized this way for centuries, and this is all relatively a new phenomenon. Toxic masculinity has existed forever. If anything, there's less toxic masculinity nowadays. The cultural embrace of like gender nonconformity, femboys, Harry Styles in a dress, Barbie movie, blah 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 blah. My point is, toxic masculinity did not just appear in the mid-2010s. But social media did, and the internet did, and the rise of dating apps did, and the housing crisis, and living in a country where the wealth inequality is worse than it was during the Gilded Age.
I also need to kind of preface another thing, is that a lot of these things didn't even exist until social media. Like, except for Nazism, things like gender and the rights of certain groups of people, among other things, like, these were just not even questions. They were just like, yeah, this is a fact or not a fact for some people. This is an issue or not an issue for some people. But then the social media came around, and it's like, oh, well, now we have to question everything, and we also have to actively agree with everything. And it's like, no, that's not how this works. And that's the main fundamental reason why I don't think mankind is ready or was ready for social media. It's because we weren't there yet. We weren't developed enough yet to be able to have a state of mind to where we can recognize that not everyone needs to have the same opinion as us, and that those with differing opinions than us, and a large quantity of those people, are not necessarily villains or the bad guy. They are just normal, everyday people with their own ideas and their own points and their own reasons for why they think, live, and believe in fundamentally different ways from myself. You know, like, everyone has their own groups, and everybody, like, stays within their own communities, but generally they all come together to have real, genuine discussions about actual existing issues. That's how it should be, but that's not what we got. What we got is MGS2 reality, and I don't like MGS2 reality. I want to get out of it as soon as possible. God, please get us out of MGS2 timeline. Please.
That all happened recently. Oh my god, the privileged life these poor little boys must have, that their biggest problem is being lonely, i.e. so insufferable that nobody wants to sleep with them. So much more pressing than the poor distribution of wealth causing people to suffer food and housing insecurity. Boo-hoo, you're lonely and have no friends and are suicidal? Wah! Because feeling alienated under capitalism apparently isn't a thing. People are working harder and longer while wages have been stagnant, men have been dropping out of college like flies, and what does that get you? Poor men. Which, since women are doing amazing in college now...
Well, I mean, to be fair to men, the reason why they're dropping out of college isn't also just because of society telling them to go fuck themselves. It's also because, you know, college is just a big scam, and no one in their right mind wants to be in $50,000 of debt, if not more, simply for having a degree. And so if you want men to come back to college, you're going to need to, you know, be a bit more forgiving about those student loan debts, because otherwise I don't see that getting better anytime soon. That's just how it is. You know, like, if you think that a degree means anything, especially nowadays, it doesn't. Jobs don't even give a shit. Like, just the fact that you even have a diploma is enough just to get you in the door. Like, you don't even have to have a diploma to even be, like, competent at the thing you are applying for to get a job. You just need to have the diploma itself to get that job. It's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen. It's like, well, what's the point of this fucking thing if it's not even actually going to matter? And it's like, oh, well, you've proven that you're at least dedicated enough to do it, so, you know, congratulations. We need someone with that kind of dedication in our position. It's like, well, what the fuck is this? Why did I spend 2 to 4 years of my life getting this thing? Other than just so that way it makes it easier for you to stop and be like, wait. This man has a college diploma. He's dedicated. Get this man in the goddamn interview room stat. Like, no, fuck that shit. You know, if I'm going to college for a diploma, or any type of fucking slip of any kind. I want it to be for the thing that I'm going to make my profession. And if I get hired for anything else other than that, it's like, why did I even get this? Because that's exactly what you're going to be asking yourself is, why did I even get this? Why do I have you? You know? It's the same. I'm sure that's the same problem that everybody faces when they get a job that turns out to be more lucrative than the thing that they were applying for. It's like, why did I even bother getting this thing? And they do ask that sometimes. It's like, why did I even bother getting this thing? Fucking Bricky almost got a fucking college degree in something, and then he dropped out of college, and he probably, if he were to stick around and get that degree on top of having a YouTube channel, he'd probably be like, why the fuck did I get this? What is this for? How did this help me? Anyways, moving on.
And what does that get you? Poor men. Which, since women are doing amazing in college now, and many are now out-earning men, this most of the time leads to single men, which then leads to lonely men, which leads to depressed men, which leads to the high suicide rate. In my opinion, leftism at a policy level does a great job addressing the shitty material conditions that in part lead to the problems that men are facing, but then absolutely drops the ball when it comes to everything and anything related to men's cultural issues. Many such cases. And why would a struggling man even want to move left when the left appears actively hostile to them?
The question of whether or not the hashtag online left is enough to appeal to hashtag men has become the question du jour. And like, men have most of the money, authority, and do most of the murdering and assaulting.
The average young man in America isn't Jeff Bezos. Also, why did this motherfucker just FBI crime statistics at me? Men do the most murder. Okay?
They like having all of the stuff they don't deserve. They like that. They want it to stay that way because it suits them. Because of the stuff, telling people they're special and deserve all the nice shit that they have, that's going to be an easier sell 10 times out of 10 than like saying, hey, maybe you should have less stuff and other people should have more.
Leftism is when you...
You know, I've seen this video enough times, and whenever this guy pops up, I'm just like, you know, I feel like that he could have had a point if he wasn't talking about stuff and just focused more on actual facts and statistics. Since he already went through the effort of even bothering to throw, again, the crime statistics at us, like if he had actually bothered to stick with the shtick that he was going with and just kept throwing more statistics at us, he probably might have had an actual point, at least one that wouldn't be easily diffused, because, I mean, it's kind of hard to argue with someone who comes armed with, like, actual fucking, like, geographical facts and graphs and literal fucking percentages and statistics. It's really hard to argue actual information, even if it's bullshit information. Because you don't know where it came from, you don't know how it came to be, you just know it's information. It's like, damn, can I argue this? Can I actually argue against this? It's like, he could have easily have had at least a mildly more interesting point, at least one that would have stood a little bit harder in this particular situation if he did not just go immediately into like, oh, well, it's because people like having stuff. Like, that's not... No, there's a lot more reasons why people don't like having stuff, and that's something that's easily disputable. Again, we're arguing with delusional crazy people, so I'm not gonna fucking say anything more about the subject other than that.
Then like saying, hey, maybe you should have less stuff and other people should have more.
Leftism is when you don't have a lot of stuff. We're gonna take your stuff. You sound like a 65-year-old Fox News boomer's idea of what the left is. Are you a CIA agent? The right is saying to men, you will own a house. You will have beautiful children with your loving wife. You will have privacy. You will have free speech. You will own things, and you will be happy. And
I'll have a wife, and I'll own things, and I'll be happy? Sign me the fuck up! See? You see how easy that is? You solve all of the bread and butter cultural issues, you won't have nearly the same level of problem courting the male demographic than you did during the election. It'd be simple, because all you have to do is just speak to the easiest things that easily appeal to male demographics. It's just like, what do they like? They like women? Okay, we'll make it easier for them to be able to have opportunities to find, court, and potentially marry women. What else can we do? Oh yeah, well, they like to own things. We'll give them full ownership of things. What's that? They like to have housing, and they like things to be affordable. We'll make it affordable, but we'll still find ways to fuck them over anyways. Simple, right? You can at least pretend like you give a shit, right? Just divert all of the potential need for money and revenue from the basic essential of things to then just making other things more expensive. You know? It's like, do you need video games? No? Well, we'll just jack up the price of your AAA releases to like $80 or $100. You know? You don't really need them. You just need to have food, right? You just need to be able to live and survive and be able to do your job. Well, at least you can save up on the off chance that you can actually afford to be able to own the things that you actually like, right? You could understand that, right? Right? That's a whole different can of worms, but you get what I'm saying. It's like this isn't a difficult problem. You know, like, how do we court men? Oh, they want to be treated like they actually matter and like their lives actually like people actually give a shit, and that they're able to find the things that they need in order to have decent, happy lives to begin with. And for as much as some dudes may say that, like having, like dating women or, like being in a relationship is not necessary, or that, people in relationships might even say that it's not easy being in a relationship. In fact, I actually like the idea of being on my own. I like being by myself. Like, I don't think you're ready for that type of commitment. Like, as much as people will say these things, like, it doesn't change the fact that people desire these things. And so it's finding the nice helping of finding someone who fits all of your needs, but you're able to fit those needs perfectly in a way, but still be able to compensate in some others, right? So you still need to be able to find some compromise between both sides. But at least if the compromises are not that grand, they're not that, they're not that overt, like they're not overreaching, like, oh, well, I'm kind of a bit of a masochist, and I like it when women step on me and hit me. Well, I'm not down for that. Do you think maybe we could just keep things normal and casual? And it's just like, well, that's not. No, I guess this isn't going to work out then. Like, I mean, that's a pretty extreme example, but like, you're getting what I'm saying, right? And also, that has nothing to do about my own preferences. Please don't use that example to read into my own preferences. I really don't. I'm not a masochist. I could not be a masochist. I don't honestly get that aspect of fetish of the fetishes myself either. Not no further than I can understand the furry shit, but that's neither here or there. Going back to the point, it's really easy, really simple to court men. It's just that the ability to give them those things is the $1,000,000 question, and it's the question that needs answering, but no one's willing to answer them because everybody's too focused on being selfish and being full of themselves to really give a shit. So, yeah. Anyways, there you go. Moving on.
Privacy, you will have free speech, you will own things, and you will be happy. And the left is like,
they like having all of the stuff they don't deserve.
But don't get me wrong, Republicans will not do shit. The Republican Party will not do shit. The establishment in general will not do shit to help any of this. But the right is, at least rhetorically, offering men something other than nothing or the eternal HR department. Every time this Discord comes up, there's people like, we need a leftist Andrew Tate. We need masculine role models on the left. But the fact is, it's hard for progressives to organically appeal to men, because a large part of progressivism is oppressive hierarchies, and men are oppressors. Making progressivism look appealing to young men is an uphill battle from the start. And although it's funny to laugh at insane people on Twitter, as always, there have been a lot of left-wing content creators talking about men's issues. If you would have told me this would be a thing 9 years ago, I would not believe you, because anyone talking about men's issues back in the day was called an MRA or a pick-me. But lately I have seen a lot of good pro-men lefty content, and I'll put some links to some below. I don't agree with all the points they say, but I recommend watching. It's much better than...
They like having all of the stuff they don't deserve.
But the issue is a lot of this lefty pro-men content, it's always framed around how do we get them? As if men are just pawns and tools for your personal politics. How do we make the left more appealing to men? How do we stop lonely men from moving to Andrew Tate? Instead of just, how do we help men? And I think that's a really big issue. Both sides seem to treat men as political fodder. Disposable soldiers in the culture war and real war. Anyway, misandry is real. Oh good, finally! And while it doesn't systemically affect cis men, it most certainly affects trans men. Oh. Y'all talking about misandry doesn't harm men, and trans men are right there reading this shit, by the way.
It's so... that is so funny that is a thing. It's just like, oh, let's not talk about this topic in this way because we're not being considerate of the other side of the coin here. And it's like, nobody... no. It's just so... Again... You know what? I don't even need to say anything, alright? I've already said enough. It's a circus. This whole thing is a circus. And I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't know how people could be simultaneously this considerate and this unapologetically just... this aggressive about their hatred for certain people and demographics. It's like, I don't understand it. It's like, how can you be simultaneously the most accommodating while also the most vilifying? It makes no fucking sense. That's why nobody really takes people from the Democratic side, why nobody takes liberals and left-wing peoples on the internet seriously. It's because they come off like sycophantic, deranged weirdos who don't actually know how to human and don't even know what a differing opinion is or what it means.
I see, now we only care about misandry because it affects trans men. Everyone stop! It's affecting a group I care about now. I love how the rhetoric just, like, evolved overnight from male tears to cis male tears. And I just have to ask, why aren't you including trans men in your misandry,
Nobody told me how lonely being a man is. We knew what depth felt like before we transitioned. We knew what it felt like to have people want to hug us and to have people want to talk to us and to have a community. And then you transition and you're just a guy walking down the street that people cross the street so that they're not near you. And friendships are so much harder to build. What's hard is none of this invalidates how real and raw women and people who are in marginalized groups feel about cis white men. All of that's valid. But I also now understand why the suicide rate is so much higher in men.
Welcome to being a man. Here's your complimentary isolation and yellow pillow.
I don't think I've ever had anyone move across the street to get away from me quite yet, but I wouldn't be surprised. It probably would be because it'd probably be because of how I looked before I got my skincare routine. And if it happened to me now, I just assumed that, yeah, you know, I probably wouldn't want to be near anybody else either. I don't think that hard about it. Sorry about that, I just got some food. I don't know if anybody heard my aunt over the, from the door, but I have food now. Anyways, yeah, so that's... it's just dumb. Yeah, I don't understand this whole mentality of, like, demonizing people while simultaneously being the most accommodating. And as far as, again, people crossing the street just to not, just to get away from you, like, I don't think most people read into that other than, at least most guys don't read into that, other than, like, well, I guess they probably are either they don't like me, or just something about me that they don't like, or they're just, it's just, you know, like, you don't think too hard about it. And honestly, you probably wouldn't want to know the answer to that question anyways. So most people don't even really care or even really think about it all that hard. But if that were to happen to me, I just, you know, again, I wouldn't care. I literally have better things to worry about than what other people think of me. Like, I've gotten into problems at my work because because that mentality is, it puts me in a position to where, like, it's awkward in certain exchanges where, you know, like, I've shown that I could care less about a thing, and then they show that they care more about that thing, and it's like, I don't know why you're getting bent out of shape, and then they were looking at me just like, how could you possibly not be, how could you possibly be this flippant about it? And it's just like, because I genuinely don't care. What's the problem here? Anyways, we're moving on. I'm gonna be eating, so hopefully that won't get through the mic, but that'll be a good test for it to see how the limiter is working over it. So yeah, if you hear anything, just forewarning beforehand.
Men.
Welcome to being a man. Here's your complimentary isolation and yellow pillow. I love how even when he's experiencing the issues of being a man, he's like, this doesn't invalidate people hating men. Come on, bro. Men struggling don't want to be lectured about the patriarchy. They don't want to be told it's all their fault. They don't want to be told they're part of the problem because, first of all, they're not. The average 20-year-old didn't build society. They go to work, come home, off to sissy hypno fetish porn, and go to bed like everyone else. I've talked about this before, but a lot of men's value comes from the money they make, unfortunately. Men are natural providers, and if they have nobody to provide for, they get into findom or send random girls on the internet money. I'm just kidding, but the fact is, a lot of men simply feel like they don't have a purpose anymore. Whether a job or a career that's fulfilling and pays well, or a woman or family to protect and take care of and provide for, men are lacking purpose. And a man will crawl through broken glass for a purpose. But you know who does make them feel like they have a purpose? No, not him.
I say that life as a man is exceptionally difficult. I say the most beautiful and the most terrifying thing about being a man is you're born without value. Society doesn't care about you.
The absolute audacity to act shocked that Andrew Tate is scooping these guys up after a decade of lol male tears is insane. Andrew Tate isn't the solution to men's problems, but he is talking to them. The fact is, you did not care about them for years, and even now you just want to recruit them, not help them. And that's why you will fail. And hey, maybe I'll be the Andrew Tate of the left. Men, listen up. Wash your penis. So I guess I'll leave you guys with a question. Why do you think male loneliness has been
I do.
increasing? What are your solutions for this
I wash it every single day.
problem? And are you dealing with loneliness? And I will see you guys next time with a new video. Bye!
Oh yeah, and I also seen the memes online. Yes, I do use a single towel, and I do start from the face down. It's the same shit. You're not gonna get any more interesting of an answer than that. But yeah. I'll let that finish.
We're all just people on a floating rock paying taxes to pedophiles at the end of the day.
Hey everyone, Peeler Valley is having their
That is a very not untrue statement, and it paints a very disturbingly vivid picture, and I like it. But yeah, that was the that was that video. Did it automatically switch me over to? Hey, there's my video. Anyways, it automatically switched me over. No, it didn't. Okay, good. Anyways, that was the Male Loneliness Epidemic by ShoeOnHead. Yeah, I am. All right. I had to double check on that one just to make sure I was subscribed. Anyways, that's pretty much all of my thoughts and opinions on that subject. I hope you all enjoyed this video. It was certainly a bit more tamer, but, you know, I think I got a pretty decent amount of my opinions in there, as well as, you know, not rambling too much like I was trying hard not to do for like the past three other reaction videos that I was trying to do. But anyways, yeah, there you have it. So that being said, I'm not sure what I'm gonna be reacting to next, but you know, if you want me to react to another ShoeOnHead video, feel free to, you know, say so down in the comments. And I shall see you all in the next video. Or, you know, if you like gaming, you know, like I am doing a gaming thing right now. Right now I'm playing RoboCop Rogue City if you want to see that. I'm going to be recording a new episode of that at some point, if not Warhammer 40k Rogue Traders. So, yeah, there's some options here. Otherwise, see you all in the next one, and I hope you have a nice rest of your day, especially since it's currently going to be, you know, Christmas Day tomorrow, as you can see just kind of behind my model. But, yeah. Hope to see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.